Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carlo Prusa MMA. Today, my special guest is a 12-6 professional mixed martial artist. He has been an absolute menace on the Canadian mixed martial arts scene. He is making his debut to the Dana White Contender Series. He's taking on Cortavius Ramus. He's fighting on August 20th, just a few weeks away. He is Mr. Michael Imperato. Michael, we're only a couple of weeks away from the contest. What is the mindset for you right now, knowing that you're so close to getting in there?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I always find ways to distract myself, and right now I'm pretty distracted. But yeah, I flew to Vegas on the 4th, so I've been here since. I got a couple of my teammates with me. We've just been hanging out. I got a few comps at some hotels and some food, and right now we're at Mandalay Bay. We got a 4,000 square foot penthouse comped. So I mean, we're training in the morning, hanging out in the afternoon, and training at night. So I mean, I'm pretty distracted. I'm pretty excited. I'm in a good spot. My cardio feels good. My training feels good. My weight's coming down easy. Um, it's just all too good to be true right now, right? So yeah, the mindset, the moment's distracted, and then once we make the weight, then I'm pretty sure I'll kick in, and then we'll go from there.
A lot of kids in the area of Canada you grew up in, they love hockey. They play hockey. They try to be the NHL. You played some hockey too. Then you found the world of mixed martial arts. What led you to this crazy lifestyle and crazy world?
Yeah, I mean, never really into martial arts. Um, One of my uncle's good friends was good friends with my coach, and he just suggested that I try it. And I went to go try some jujitsu. I met my coach Sam Zakula, and I mean, a girl beat me up. I went back home. I told my friends. I brought them by. She beat them up too, and I'm like, I got to learn this, and I did. And I started grappling. I had fun. Everybody was older. I started traveling, competing. I started doing well. I started helping some of the pro guys for their fights, and then I told my coach one day, when you think I'm ready, let me know. And that day came, and I mean, it all kind of just happened, but it wasn't planned. It wasn't something that I thought about or wanted to do. I just, I got introduced to the sport and fell in love with it.
The whole world of mixed martial arts, I mean, it has changed so much over the years. 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't even legal in Ontario for amateurs. It wasn't even legal for pro. I think 20 years ago, it is so culturally accepted now. It is watched by so many people. Back in the early days, when you first started doing this stuff, do you have any fighting horror stories of promotions, maybe mystery opponents, bad medicals, unsafe fighting conditions, anything crazy or wild?
Uh, I mean, there's always something, right? I remember I fought Mike Mallet, so I was supposed to fight. Well, I was scheduled to fight Andrew Shea in Hamilton, and we were scheduled to fight at 135, and they hit me up to fight Mallet at 140. So it was like 2 weeks before, 2 3 weeks before. I forget where it was, out east, out west. I'm bad with my geography, but out that way somewhere, and then I show up, and the guy's like 5 pounds over, and or first they're like 143, then they're like, oh, 145, and they give him like a 2 3 pound allowance, so he ends up being like 148. So like basically we're fighting at 155 now. So I agreed on it anyways. I was there to fight, so I made the 140, but I just accepted anyways. I went to go sign my contract. My contract was signed for me. And then it was a quick fight. I went at him and a little bit back and forth. I made a mistake. He caught me. I mean, it's not really a horror story. That's my decision making, but I was always down to fight, right? So it is what it is. But yeah, a couple little weasel moves that some promoters pull here and there. Trying to help their guys out.
In this day and age, Canadian mixed martial arts definitely growing. I mean, you look at some of the big names, the Roy McDonald's, the George St. Pierre, Jasmine Judah Viciouses, Mike Malotz, now in the UFC. But what was the landscape like for Canadian mixed martial arts 15 to 20 years ago?
And in what sense? Like, what do you mean?
Like, where was it? Where was the state? Was it small? Was it hard to find shows back in the day? Was it a big scene?
I mean, the scene is like worldwide now is more popular, but back then, um, we would drive to Montreal a lot to TKO and go out there with some friends, right? Locally, there's a few more shows now, obviously, because it's legal. Before it wasn't. A few shows in Ontario, pro shows, they tried, they lost a lot of money, didn't succeed. So they folded. Some stuck around, some didn't. Now we have shows from out of town coming in and putting on shows and putting on a market. Um, I mean, it was kind of always dead, right? But now I think MMA itself is more popular. Like growing up, a lot of people talk about karate, and then a lot of people boxing was always big for years, right? So Um, now I think MMA is a lot bigger, and I think a lot more people actually into it, and they want to train and they're more knowledgeable of it. But I mean, you go to events and they're still kind of sold out, not sold out. They're still pretty empty. Local MMA's never really taken off. So.
I think a big moment for Canadian mixed martial arts was in 2013, UFC 129, George St. Pierre, Jake Shields, sold out the Rogers Center, 55,000 plus people. Were you there that day, or do you
I was there. Yeah.
You were there?
Yeah, Mark Hominick also fought Jose Aldo. So I train with Mark and I train with Aldo. So, yeah.
Did you get a little inspiration? Did you get some maybe some inspiration off of seeing those guys fight, your hometown, that big of a crowd that kind of helped fuel this dream?
I mean, I've been around my whole life. I'm 18 years. A good part of my life, half my life, and I've seen it all. I've been around all of it. So I never really been big on, you know, um, like a fan kind of like that, or trying to get you know autographs off people or what. I always want to be my own. I always want to be my own spotlight. And whatever show it was to me was the biggest deal in the world, right? So even now going to Contender, I feel like I'm just on another fight, another day, right? I don't let the other things play a factor. I just enjoy the moment, and the smallest show, I make it the biggest deal. So um, yeah, one year was nice. It's cool, and you definitely want to fight there one day. Definitely want to walk out there one day. But now they're at the ACC, so Scotiabank Arena, a little bit less people, 16,000 probably, but still amazing, right? So either one of those, definitely something I definitely want to do. But yeah, back then it was nice. It was nice to see people I know fight and local people and have the opportunity. And again, Mark Hominick, till now we still talk, we still keep in touch, and it was very inspiring to see him put on the line and go 5 rounds and with the hematoma on his head and still continue. If another round, he probably won that fight. So.
While you're trying to join the short list of Canadians that are currently in the UFC, you would not be the first UFC fighter from Woodbridge, Ontario. Obviously, Mr. Mark Boach. Is that a guy that's been part of your journey from the get-go?
So Mark Bocek trained with Sam Zakula. They were buddies. They grew up together and trained together. Sam coached him as well, I believe, for a little bit before the UFC. I bumped into Mark a few times, took some of his classes. He used to teach at Extreme when they opened. Um, I know him. I haven't trained much with him or under him, but we're same team and the same group of people that we've been around. But there was him. There's, he's from Woodbridge. I was born and raised in Toronto. I moved to Woodbridge in 2000. So I don't know how many born and raised people in Toronto are in the UFC. But then there was Sean Pearson, Claude Patrick, a lot of guys that I've been around. So.
The first loss was against a guy in Mike Malott. You mentioned a little earlier, a guy now in the UFC. What did you learn from that fight?
That fight I rushed it, so I was upset with the weight, and I remember the fight was at a bar, and right after I put my pants on, he just passed me on the shoulders like, "Good luck, bud." And I'm like, this guy just missed weight by 8 pounds. It just set me up, and now he's telling me good luck. I wanted to kill him. So when he put his pants on, I grabbed his head and I got pushed out of the way. And then I knew his first fight, so we kind of got a little beef there. And I knew his first fight was he armbarred a guy from close guard. So I told myself, when this guy armbars me, I'm gonna put him down, because I do it to everybody. And if he goes for an armbar, I'm gonna pick him up. I'm gonna drop on his head. And that's exactly what I did. I put him down. I dropped him on the rope. It was in a ring, not a cage. So I rocked him with the right hand. He dropped on the ropes, and instead of touching his body or touching his head and trying to TKO him, I picked him up, slammed him, ended up in his closed guard. He went for an armbar, and I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I picked him up. I went to drop him on his head, but he kept the grip. I kind of let go. I ended up belly down an armbar. I tapped. I thought it was a little bit early. I was upset with myself, but then I couldn't move my arm for like 2 weeks, and I had a fight scheduled 2-3 weeks later. People wanted me to cancel it. I took that fight anyways, and I ended up winning a 3-round decision over there. But had I not fought Mike, maybe I would have tapped earlier in the fight with Andrew Shea. There's an opportunity that he had, and I stuck through that. I couldn't do it twice, and you can't rush. You can't take fights like that. So there's a lot of different things that I took from that fight, but.
A really big moment for you early in your career, especially on the Canadian scene, is when you took on Jesse Arnett, a guy that was really well known in Canada. I believe going into this fight, you had some disagreements with your coach. You were kind of doing it your own thing. You go out there, and you finish him within 70 seconds. What was that moment? What was that fight like for you?
Yeah, I think that was a minute 9 first round, I believe. Yeah, me and my coach Sam, he's been my coach my whole life, and I got to a point where I'm like, man, I gotta just. He's protecting me. He's doing what he should do as a coach and a manager, and I'm just like, listen, man, I gotta, if I can't beat this guy, who am I gonna beat? You know, I got to do it, and I just wanted to fight. So that was our little disagreement. So he's like kind of stepped away, let me do my thing, and he's like learn a lesson on your own. So I trained for about a month on my own before that fight. Obviously at the gym with other people and stuff, but majority of it was without him. And then my cornerman now, one of my teammates back then was Adrian Woolley, and he was also fighting that show. His fight ended up getting canceled, so Sam was out there anyways with him, and then we made up the day before. He ended up cornering me. But yeah, I just went right at Jesse and touched him. I went to go put him down. I did. He scrambled up. I ended up on top, and then I scrambled back up, and he tried to dive forward. I put him in a guillotine. So I think it was a minute 9 that fight. But yeah.
Well, you're obviously fighting for your chance going to the UFC. You're not a stranger to being called from the UFC. I mean, if I know correctly here, it's like 3 or 4 different times they've contacted you. I know the first time there's some visa issues, you couldn't go do it. Second time they try to throw Mitch Gagnon at you. It didn't work out. I think your coaches didn't recommend that you took the fight. I know I've seen in a previous interview you tell a story where you were heartbroken over it. You're devastated over it. You drove up to Blue Mountain, you hit a deer or something. What was that moment like? What was that time like? Knowing this chance is coming, but you just couldn't do it.
Yeah, the first one was the visa issue. We said yes. It was a great opponent. The second was Mitch Gagnon, was very talented. It was a bad fight. I was going through some injuries, but I was also working. I was doing pattern concrete at my own construction company. So even for the first fight, I wasn't training. I wasn't in shape. I took after the Arnett fight. Um, that's when they contacted me, but it was about 6 months later. So I didn't think I was going anywhere or doing anything. I had, wasn't sure. So I started working. I took time off, and then they called for that one. It was a great fight. Couldn't get it done because of visas. I'm like, oh, I'm done. Sam's my coach is always like, oh, they're gonna call back, and sure enough, a couple weeks later they did, and then they offered Mitch. But again, I wasn't really training. I didn't believe it was gonna happen or whatever. So, really, I should have been in the gym, but I needed to make some money and support myself, so I did. And then my knee was all banged up for that one, so it wasn't a great idea. And then again, 2 3 weeks later, they offered me Aljamain Sterling, and then I called my coach thinking like, there's no difference here. It's gonna be the same answer, right? And then he's like, let's just do it. He's like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel good. Let's go. And then I called, and then that's when everything kind of went downhill. But the moment of the second fight, the second offer, when he said no, I took a ride up north, and it's bad weather. I was devastated. I was crying. I don't like to argue with him or go against him. I like to take his word for it. But that was a big moment for me. And I'm like, if we said yes in the first one, I believe myself I can beat him. Obviously with the circumstance of not training and stuff, that's where a coach has to really come in and settle you down and take over and help you out, because every fighter wants to fight everybody. Every real fighter does, right? So you need the guy that's gonna direct you and guide you and take care of you, right? So he did that part. But me as a young guy, I didn't. I just wanted to be where I wanted to be, and I've always said I just want to fight the highest level, and whatever happens, happens. If I make it, great. If I don't, I did it. I can move on with life, But now it's like I've been hanging this dream over my head forever and just trying to get it done. And then again, when it's over and move on. But life is it's long, but it's also very short. So I got to make the best of it, right?
So a little before all that, you're on a reality show called Fight Exchange. A pretty cool concept. 3 Canadian fighters, 3 Brazilian fighters. You're over in Brazil. Henry Morale was your roommate. Going to be with Jose Aldo. Some things came out on that thing. Some things were said. Unfortunately, the Aljamain Sterling fight got taken away from you. The UFC rescinded the offer. I don't know how much you want to get into this, and that's fine. Take as much as you're comfortable in it. But what was that time like, knowing you had it, and because of unfortunate events, it got stripped in front of your face?
Yeah. So at the time, I was like 19, 20 years old. I was a late fill-in because I lived with Barao. I was roommates with Barao the year before. So flights to Brazil were expensive, and the trip was great. So I got this opportunity. My visa was already good, where the other guy that I took over his spot wasn't. I pretended to be teammates with these 2 people, and treated them really well. We got along fine, and slowly, some animosity built up, and got heated, and they were talking some shit about me, and I said I said a racial slur and a homophobic slur to him, and Byung, just trying to get him to step up and fight. At the time, I had no idea what I was doing, man. I was young and not crazy, but just not really thinking, just heat of the moment, and you don't really think about TV. You don't really think about the whole world seeing it. I didn't know how big all of it was, and regardless of the fact that it was on TV or not, it shouldn't have been said, and the actions shouldn't have been done, but it was, and years later, I always had that feeling in the back of my mind that that might catch up to me, and it did. I just didn't think the way it happened or the punishment, kind of that what I got from it, and then the circle of events, after the downfall and all the other things that came with it. But I've always said, like, had my life, had I got signed to UFC before, and had that not happen, maybe I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't be married. I would, my life is already pretty set and it's pretty good. I just got this one hurdle to overcome, and again, whatever way it goes, it doesn't matter to me. It's just something I have to do for myself and for everybody that believed in me for all the years, right? So I'm gonna give it my all, give it my best for as long as I can. But I definitely learned so much from that experience, and at the time I regretted it. Now, it gives me a story. It makes you bring it up, makes other people follow it. I'm not just the average guy anymore. I have this story where I made a mistake as a kid, and now I'm a grown man, and it took years and years and years, but I haven't stopped. I haven't quit. I still feel great. I'm still ready to go fight, the best guys in the world, and still do it. So now I got a story, and it's even better when bad guy goes good, and you learn a lesson, you pass it on to other people, and you make the best of the situation. There's always a silver lining, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but I'm starting to see what that was now. So.
Following that event, it looked like you were trying to take a bunch of fights on short notice, racked up a little bit of a losing skid. During that time in your career, were you just trying to get back in there as much as you want to just get away from everything?
Yeah, so the first thing back was Julio Arce, and took that fight short notice in Atlantic City. That was a 3-round war. So I lost that one. That guy legit beat me. He kept touching me, and he touched me 10 times. I touched him once. Um, After that, I believe I fought Blake Silvaldosin, I think, or I fought on TKO. I think it was no, yeah, it was TKO next. And I lost the decision to Xavier Alloway, one of GSP's guys in his hometown. I felt like I won the first round clearly. Second round, I dropped him. It was pretty much back and forth. Third round, he out jabbed me. So I mean, the worst case, give me a decision. The best case, a win. But I never thought I was going to lose that fight. I did. So that was two in a row, two really tough guys. And then last minute, trying to get some fights done for Excessive Force, where I had a title, and it was back and forth a lot of guys, and finally we got somebody, and I was winning that fight too, and I got a little cut of my eye, under my eye, and I got screwed over there by the commission, and I lost that fight. So the first one, yeah, I lost, and the second one, I thought I won. I'm like, man, it can't be like this. It's not how I'm going out. And then the third one was like just complete bad luck. And I've always said it, like every time something's going good in the career, or have a good fight or something coming up, everything in life just goes down, and it's like God just telling me, or whatever, I was up there, just telling me, don't do this. It's not for you, and move on. But I can't let it go. I can't accept the no, and I just kind of learned the hard way, found out for myself. But here I am now, and I made it. I don't know how I got this far. I don't know what kept me pushing or what drive kept going. But we're here and make the best of it.
Following the losing skid, I mean, you've been on a roll ever since. I think 2 losses since then, but steady, great performances. Now I'm going to jump to kind of recently, Unified, huge show in Canada, big show in Toronto. I mean, man, you took on a tough guy in Ricky Bandejas, a guy, his boys of Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar was trying to put him over. And little did you know, the Dana White looking for a fight rolled in that night. You had Dean Thomas, you had Matt Serra, you had the boss man, Dana White, all there watching you. You go out there, and I mean, you took out an incredibly tough guy in under a minute. Walk me through that finish. At what point did you start seeing the opening for the rear naked choke?
And we went through them, and Ricky was one of them, and I believe I said no, and then we circled back through it, and I looked at my coach, and I'm like, man, I have to fight. Like, really, what do you think of Ricky? And he's like, he's beatable. He's really tough. You're training for a 5'4" wrestler, and now you're fighting, 5'10", 5'11" striker. And but my whole life I trained against everybody, and all my training partners are very versatile, and so I'm lucky enough to have that. And I was in great shape, and it didn't matter who was in front of me. It doesn't matter, what the strategy was, what the size was. It was over, right? So, yeah, it was a very tough fight. Dana White showed up last minute. That was all cool and good. But the more pressure you put on me, the better I am. I put the pressure on myself, and I love to show off. So that fight night is the time where you show off. That half the arena sold out. By chance, everybody in there was cheering when I came out, and it was crazy. It was a crazy feeling, and you couldn't have scripted that. And I've said that before. If I had to write this down, the best night ever, how it can go, I couldn't write that. So it all went well. Everything was just on, and I mean, I kind of feel now the way I did then, right? So the next one's going to be pretty exciting. But yeah, once I put him down, that he he turned, and that back take was automatic. I do it all the time in the gym, and I have training footage just before that of doing the exact same thing to a training partner.
Following the win, you were talking with Dana White, you're talking about Dean Thomas, you're talking with Matt Serra. I know, after everything was over, you got to talk to Dana alone. What did he tell you at that point in time?
I went in the back room, waited for him there, and then brought me in. Just told me it was a great performance, and they're gonna bring me on contender. So I said, at first again, I'm looking at my contender. I'm like, man, I was in the UFC, now I'm going contender. And at first I was like, whatever it is, what it is. And at the end, he goes, welcome to the UFC, and see you in Vegas. So in everyone's eyes, all my contract, everything, everywhere is UFC, right? So it's not like it's anything else. Doesn't matter if it's named Contender Series or UFC. It's the highest level guys, and these are the guys that are going to be, the next fight in the UFC. So one of us is anyways, right? So that's how everyone sees it. We have all the UFC take care of us, getting hold of us, doing everything for us, and talking back and forth with them. So this is it, right? So whether it's Contender or UFC, but for me at the time when I heard Contender, I was kind of offended. And I sat back and I thought about it. I'm like, man, this is better for me. I just had the exposure from Fight Pass. I'm gonna have the exposure from this show, Dana White looking for a fight, and then I'm gonna have exposure from Contender. So now I have so many opportunities for people to do interviews and get a hold of me before I get to the UFC. So hopefully, I take advantage of all of that, and I become a fan favorite. So more people tune in now, as opposed to just going direct to the UFC, and you got to make a big name there before people even start following you, right? So again, the way everything worked out, it's perfect, and that's the silver lining there.
You remember where you were at when you got the call that it was officially set and go? You got the contract being the contender?
The contract, I believe I was just at the gym, but I got an email from Sean Shelby like 2 days later, and he goes, Dana called and he says we're putting on contender. But again, I knew that night that they were going to do it, but they said it. They didn't, give me anything. And then so again, in my eyes, this is surreal. Who knows? Anything can happen. Tomorrow they can just never get a hold of me, whatever. And then Sean messaged me, so that was positive. And then I was ready to go. I started thinking about flights and hotels and and all that. And he's like, man, just don't worry, we'll cover everything. Just hang out, just wait for us. And then a few months later, so like literally maybe 2 months ago, um, I got an email, and it was from Sean. He says me Cortavius' name, and he says, "Are you in?" And he sends me the name, and I just said, "Whoever you give me is great for me. It's perfect. I guess thank you for the opportunity, and I'll see you on the 20th." And that was my response, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I was outside the gym when I got that message. So.
So many people watch the UFC. They look at these fighters, they see the fame, they see the glory. They'd be like, wow, what a great life to live. Very few people understand what it's like to get to the UFC, to have to battle it on the regional scene. The money isn't great. You're not a millionaire from fighting on the regional scene. You're a perfect example, I believe, of the struggle and the climb to get there. You have kids, you have a wife, you've had to work construction jobs, have to do the whole 9 to 5 thing, maybe even more hours because you owned your own business. You have to find the time to get punched in the face, do all the sacrifices and training, put up with all the gym politics and promoters and all the other stuff that goes into it. What has made you stick with this and keep grinding throughout your whole journey?
I can't answer that question. I'm a stubborn prick. I don't know. I just can't let things go. I took second mortgages. I traveled for 2 years, took my whole family away during COVID. I put myself in all kinds of debt. I mean, it would take me a whole career to make back what I spent just trying to get this contract back. I think I'm like the only pro that pays to fight. It's insane. I've spent a lot. Even now, I'm spending 5, 10 times more than I'm making. Borrowing money from wherever I can, whatever. And thankfully, I have a lot of people that help me out and they're there for me. And I just got a lot to pay back. I got a lot to do. So either way, one way or the other, I'll get it done. And whether it's going back to work, open my own business, whatever it is, but I got a lot of catching up to do. But I can't go to sleep and say I didn't try. I can't let this go and just say, I had the opportunity, I just didn't do it because of this or because of that. So I mean, what you guys see and what you guys know is like a very small percentage of how much struggle and how much pain and stress I had to go through. But I think that's all the more reason why that I had to do it. Just make the impossible possible.
Were there ever times along this journey where you considered giving it up and throwing it all away?
Many times, many times. You lay in your bed and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? We have a bad training session, things are going wrong. You're about to fight, and missing mortgages and lawyers are calling you and letters on your door that they're gonna evict you from your house, and the sheriff's like, man, I have so many stories, man, and so many numbers that people wouldn't believe, and I need a whole Netflix documentary to tell you about my career. Family, people. My mom just telling me, go get a fucking job with Tim Hortons. You're way better off. Like, what are you doing? And I put my parents through hell. They helped me out so much financially, and so many of my friends as well. Um, so I'm very thankful, very very thankful that I have these people in my life to support me, and then I have a lot of younger guys that look up to me. So, um, I do what I can, and I just keep pushing. But I just know I have it, and I know I just want the whole world to see it. So whatever the outcome is, but as much as I can give back, I will. I've always been that guy. If I win, everyone wins. So yeah, just I know it can make a difference in the sport. I know I come with a different kind of persona, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I have my kids that show up. Most fighters don't. I have my wife there all the time. Bring my family and friends around. I think I'm pretty well spoken. I think I'm pretty intelligent. I can talk some shit. I can back it up. All my fights are exciting. And I realized that getting to the UFC is not making it; it's making an opportunity for yourself to make it. So I got to get there first. That's the next step, and then I got to go from there. So once I get that, then the next will be interesting.
All right, so let's talk about the fight a little bit here. So you're taking on Cortavious Ramos, a guy who's been on the Dana White Contender Series before. He's getting that rare second chance to come back. Lost the first time, but overall, what do you think of him as an opponent?
Yeah, a lot of people ask. My whole career, I don't really watch tape on my opponent. One, because the switch happens all the time. Two, because I think he's the toughest guy in the world. I don't ever take a fight watching him and picking out his flaws. I'm like, fuck, this guy's sick. This guy's really good. He's good here. He's good there. He's good there. So everyone that asks me, he's a great striker. He's a great wrestler, and he has some good ground. I don't think it's very rare that I find guys my weight that can give it to me or beat me on the ground. So um, I'm okay there. And I always think worst case scenario, where am I going to be? And if that's the ground, I'm totally fine. Wrestling, I do well with everybody, and striking, I'm okay. I step forward. Um, so I watched some tape on him, but very very little. I gave it to my coach. He says good fight. At the end of the day, it didn't matter. We were taking it anyways. Um, but for me, it's always been cardio. If I have the mindset, if I have everything good in my life, if I don't have a lot on my plate, which I always do because I work at a gym. I make very little money, but I have so many bills. So it's so hard to keep. I'm going back every day goes by. I'm losing money. So the faster this career can happen is better, right? Even when I got the contract, or I was told about this fight, it was in January, and I knew I had to wait 8 months. I'm like, I got to survive 8 more months. I was ready to just beat up the kangaroo and go back to work, go to construction and then just catch up on everything. And then I got this, and I'm like, well, now I really can't quit, So it was a curveball. So I'm like, cool. Now I got 8 months. I would have loved to do it the next day. So, there's so many things that play a factor here. But yeah, with Cortavious, it's just he's a tough dude. They're all tough, and it is what it is. But as long as my cardio's on point, people are in trouble.
He's the type of fighter that really brings it to you. Very fast paced, very high intensity. Are you expecting a lot of pressure, very high paced fight from the get go?
It is what it is. Whatever happens, I'm prepared for all of it. You're gonna fight fire with fire. So he tried that last time. My strategy's a little bit different, but yeah, whatever it is, there's two things that are gonna happen. He's either gonna come forward or he's gonna take his time. But either one, I'm ready to go. And wherever it goes, I'll be ready to go. I always am, and we'll figure it out.
After going through a journey like you have, all the ups and downs, all the adversity, what would it mean to actually be contracted by the UFC?
I don't know. I really don't know. Now I email people and I talk to them back and forth. And I was just talking to Forrest Griffin about the PI and some other people, and it's surreal. Every email I see UFC in the bottom, and then I laugh my head off. I'm like, I thought forever that everyone made me feel like I don't belong. It's not me. I'm not that level, but all my skills said otherwise. Like even now training out in Vegas, there's a lot of guys in UFC I train with, and I do really well with. And in my heart, I know I'm there, and it's so surreal, man. It's been so long. So if they give me that contract, I'm gonna be happy. I gotta do it again. The journey continues, but yeah, I just don't know. We'll see when I get it, and then we'll catch up afterwards. I'll let you know.
You mentioned a little earlier in the interview, you like to bring your kids to a fight. It's something that not all fighters like to do. Some are on the fence about it, but did you get them tickets? Are they coming to the Contender?
So yeah, Contender's tricky to deal with, but I think they give you a few. I'm gonna request some more. I got a bunch of people coming out. But again, they also love hotels and stuff. And BetMGM, I got a good rep over him. Cooper, this guy's the man. But he helped me out a lot. So yeah, we got a bunch of suites everywhere and some comp food everywhere. I'm literally here for a month. I'm pretty much all comped, so it's insane. But yeah, they're gonna be out here. They're gonna be playing the pools and then going everywhere. My wife will hang out with my dad's coming out with my grandfather. So we're gonna have 4 generations of us over here, and we're just gonna enjoy the moment, man. And my teammates are here, my coach is here, and enjoy the moment.
So you already got to go to Vegas before to do all the media stuff for the Contender Series, do all the different obligations. What was that experience like? Really being there, being okay, this is a reality, this is happening. I'm doing the interviews. I'm getting my picture taken.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. My plane landed a little bit early, and they were supposed to pick me up and have a sign there. So I was waiting for that sign, and the guy wasn't there. So I ended up taking a taxi to the hotel, and like an hour later, the driver messages me saying he's here. I'm like, oh, bro, I'm already at the hotel. I got a whole family here. I can't be waiting around places. But just missed communication, not knowing that the flight was early or whatever, or the pilot just gunned it too much. Um, but yeah, it was great. And again, surreal. I'm in the PI, but for me this time, not just hanging out with my friends or there for them. My daughter's taking pictures by the Apex. She got interviewed. My son, he's too busy on his iPad and he got shy. He didn't want to do it. Um, but it was great. The people got to meet my family, and my family got to meet them, and the UFC and all their staff was amazing. They treat everyone really well. It's nice to see. I mean, I've also worked with a few promotions like Excessive Force, Darren Cliff, um, Jamie from PFC, Jamie Champion, um, and so many other ones. But those guys, top of the head, they helped me a lot, especially recently in my career, and they were like family. So UFC is also like that, just a lot more money, a lot more resources and employees and stuff. But I've been very fortunate to have those kind of people help me out and promotions be there for me. So um, this is the NHL of everything. It's the highest level. So to have those people know who I am and to meet my family and then to be around everyone, it's a very special moment. And I was very happy to do it, and I can't wait for more.
All right, Michael. Last question for you, my man. In a perfect world, what is the outcome when you take on Cortavius Ramis August 20th, Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Dana White Contender Series?
Yeah, best scenario, you go in there untouched, in and out, you get a nice win, and I also booked my trip till September 4th, so I'm here for a month, 2 weeks after, hoping there's an injury, and hopefully I can get another card right away. So you hope you go in untouched, in and out, nice and quick, nice and easy. But at the same time, I feel great right now. My cardio is great, so this is my chance to showcase to the world everything. Um, I'm ready for all of it. A nice, a good scrap as long as you're winning. You want to be giving and taking, but if I can give it 15 minutes, I will. Um, but yeah, of course, obviously in and out, nice submission or whatever maybe is great. But I want to have some fun. Like my last fight, it was in and out. It's like I didn't even do it. It was again surreal. So I want to make this one count. I want to have some fun in there. I want to enjoy the moment, and I'm just gonna put it all on the line. I'm giving my best, and that's all you can ask for. I'll leave everything in there, and hopefully it's exciting for the fans. Hopefully it's exciting for Dana, and then get that contract, and then we do it all over again.
Well, Michael, I wish you nothing but the best, man. Thank you so long for hopping on here tonight. Sorry to keep you so long. I didn't expect this to go this long, but you have a great story. You embody what a true mixed martial artist is, man. You've really lived a journey, and I'm looking forward to the fight. I wish you nothing but the best, dude.
I appreciate your time, Carlo. Thanks for reaching out. Pleasure, and we'll talk again for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for now, but that's Michael Imparato. I'm Carlo Peruzza. Stick around, fight fans.